It was just 24 hours ago where this business beside me was up in flames. We talked to the business owners here just this morning and they say it's closed for now, but not for good.
What if you're not ready to go all in but would like a place to start? Flying drones is another option that won't have to put a big dent in your savings.
Conemaugh Memorial Medical Center is at capacity. That's according to officials that I spoke with earlier today, given the rise of COVID cases and the lack of staffing. This fall is an interesting one for Indiana County as many eyes and ears are pointed towards the candidates running for a position in the Senate come November. Today, more focused on Democrat Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who held a campaign rally here at the KCAC at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
If you send me to D.C., I would be that 51st vote that we need.
Fetterman is addressing topics like abortion rights and the importance of unions in the Commonwealth.
As you know, I had a stroke. Dr. Oz tells me about that every day.
Earlier in the year, I talked with Republican Dr. Mehmet Oz about a stroke that Fetterman endured before the primary election.
I'm praying for his rapid recovery. I don't have any details about his current medical situation, but I'm not that worried about him being able to serve our country. I'm more concerned about what he would do, what decisions he would make if he was serving our nation.
Still on health topics, Fetterman also engaged the audience with questions about health care, which he says is a big issue after the Senate passed a bill banning women's abortion rights.
How many of you have had a personal health challenge in their life?
One thing that he didn't address was the recent comments made by President Biden, who told 60 Minutes in an interview that the pandemic is, quote, over.
The pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it.
Others attending the event, like Sam Bigham, were able to shed some light on the confusion.
Well, I think the pandemic is going to be over when people will stop having severe reactions to COVID and stop dying. And I think we're getting, I'm not a scientist, but I think we're moving towards that with all the vaccinations and the boosters and the less severe strains.
Some are also questioning if the steel production that Fetterman is endorsing will have negative environmental effects.
However, I feel that there has to be a healthy balance between industry and, industry has built this country, but I also feel that we have to preserve the environment and do it very carefully.
For now, Fetterman has the lead according to the latest polls, but things don't seem over yet for Dr. Mehmet Oz. In Indiana, Pennsylvania, Stoker Wieczorek, IUP News.
6 News. Coverage you can count on starts now.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Stoker Wieczorek. It's a bit cloudy today and of course there's much more to be said. We have Maddie Baggett for the weather. Maddie. Local Congressman Glenn Thompson is facing criticism after voting no on a same-sex marriage bill only to attend his son's marriage to another man just days later. Thompson's office confirmed he was at his son's wedding last Friday, which was 3 days after joining about 3/4 of the Republican House membership in voting against a bill trying to ratify protections for same-sex marriage into federal law.
I myself am the proud parent of an LGBTQA child. And the one word that came to mind when I had seen the article, read the article, is hypocrisy. I mean, I'm unable to wrap my head around voting against gay marriage and then going to your gay child's marriage then within a few days and welcoming their new spouse into the family.
Thompson's vote last week came after Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas used the Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade to call for a reversal of the court's gay marriage ruling. Thompson's press secretary told us, quote, "This bill was nothing more than a political stunt." We asked Thompson's press secretary if we could talk to Thompson more about his decision making. She replied, quote, "The congressman is very busy this week and unfortunately we won't be able to join for an interview." Involving Congressman Thompson brought reaction from his opposing side of the political aisle. Here's what Democrat Representative Scott Culkin and Governor Tom Wolf had to say.
I'm just disappointed, let alone the fact that we don't have the right to tell somebody who you love or how you should live your life in this country. But to actually vote on a piece of legislation days before a child you love is marrying the individual they love, who just happens to be of the same sex.
I think he's very happy for his son, and apparently his son found the love of his life, and that's a wonderful thing that is now people are able to do that in the United States.
We're hearing from the district attorney after a Johnstown woman is facing new charges 20 years after a car accident that investigators say caused her son to suffer life-threatening injuries. Police say in May of 2002, Autumn Hartman admitted to using heroin and falling asleep at the wheel with her 14-month-old son in the passenger seat. They say she was driving on Ohio Street in Lorain Borough, crossed into oncoming traffic and hit a Camtran bus head-on. Her son became a quadriplegic in need of a ventilator until his death in October of last year.
Even though his death was 20 years after the accident, the Commonwealth believes, based on medical records and statements from medical doctors, that he died as a result of the injuries suffered in 2002.
Hartman originally faces charges such as endangering the welfare of a child and violating controlled substance laws. She now faces charges related to homicide by vehicle. Her preliminary hearing is scheduled for early next month.
I need fresh eyes! Fresh eyes right on side! Where are we at?
That dramatic video you just saw was from last year when State College police officers rushed into a burning home to save a woman trapped inside. They were honored yesterday for their heroic efforts. Officer Dean Woodring was the first on the scene of that fire last March along Crabapple Court. All he knew when he ran into the garage was that there was a woman inside who couldn't get out. Soon, other State College officers arrived and they eventually got the woman out alive with just moments to spare. Yesterday, Woodring, along with State College Police Lieutenant Barrett Smith, Officer Larry Crawford, and Officer Ben Capozzi were all honored with the Center County Law Enforcement Officer of the Year awards.
I think it's easy at times for us in law enforcement to believe that our actions are unappreciated or law enforcement in general are unappreciated. However, a critical incident such as this fire serves as a firm reminder that we are needed and appreciated.
You can read more about this story on our website, wjactv.com. The job of a police officer, as we just showed you, is mentally and physically demanding. It could certainly take a toll. 6 News talked with law enforcement in Tyrone following what has been a strenuous few days following last week's standoff.
During the standoff, we were all physically drained. Some officers were on duty for approximately 24 hours straight, and this takes a huge physical toll on you, but it also takes a huge mental toll on you as well. The day after this standoff happened, it came in, it was just like another day. We didn't know where the last day of our lives went. We know we all went through it together, but we came to work and we just kept doing the job. Each day when I leave home, I tell my family I love them, and my family is what keeps me mentally refreshed. And I know I have to be prepared to take the steps I need to make it back home to them.
You can hear more from Officer Miller on our website, wjactv.com. We have an update on a former Huntington area high school teacher who received a liver donation from one of his former students. Mark Morningstar is doing well. His liver transplant was last Thursday. He was discharged from the hospital yesterday and will stay near the hospital for his rehab as an outpatient. His donor is Sean Campompiano, who is also doing well. Recovery will take about 10 weeks for Morningstar. Campompiano's recovery will take about 4 weeks. As we get closer to the 20th anniversary of the Q Creek mine rescue on Thursday, we're continuing to look back at the great rescue efforts underway decades ago in Somerset County. Joseph Spavoni was a state mine official at the time. He had put together the rescue plan.
Yeah, 10 minutes to 9 is when the cut through took place. 10 minutes to 3 we started drilling. The surveyors did their work, the GPS and the land survey. We were able to identify down here where we were going to put the rig. We used Arnold's Bobcat to level out and put Lou Bartell's, the water rail driller, in there and started drilling.
Stay with WJAC throughout the week. We'll continue to show you firsthand accounts from those who were there to witness the mine miracle. You can also find more coverage on our website, WJACTV.com. Still ahead on 6 News at noon, we'll tell you what the Department of Justice is doing to protect those seeking abortions. But first, hear what local lawmakers have to say about the current state of the Commonwealth as well as their plans moving forward. That's next.